Compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, I wish to state that on August the 9th, 2013, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township Bulletin Board, mailed to the Cape May County Gazette, the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel-Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed with the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being video recorded and will be available on UTTV Channel 2 and on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct this announcement made a part of the minutes of this meeting. I would ask all to rise for the salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Barbara, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mr. Corson?
Present.
Mr. Insera?
Here.
Mr. Newman?
Here.
Mayor Palumbo?
Here.
All members are present.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the July 22nd, 2013 regular meeting and closed session minutes as submitted.
Second. Okay, is there any corrections, deletions, omissions that anyone's aware of? Okay, hearing none. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay, Barbara, do you have anything for us this evening?
I just have one item. I'd like to remind everyone that we have a special primary election tomorrow for U.S. Senate, and the polls will be open from 6 to 8 p.m., and the clerk's office will be open if anyone has any questions about the polling place or anything of that nature. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Daniel?
Yes. I do want to make the committee aware, you may already be aware, there was a small article in the press this past week. A new state statute was adopted which allows buildings to be raised, even if they're non-conforming in terms of use or bulk. It's essentially the same as the ordinance that we adopted, except the state now has taken precedence and frankly,
Raised as being up?
elevated, and it does not need to go to, as long as it complies with flood hazard state. It's those buildings that may be elevated, even if they're not conforming, so long as it's to comply with flood hazard safety standards, which is essentially what our ordinance did about 4 months ago. And frankly, I was telling the mayor when we read the state statute, it's essentially the same language as in our ordinance and what we had recommended in January when, I believe, Rich, you met with the governor's staff and the Department of Community Affairs. So it's a few months later, but we now have a state statute that allows the same thing the township had permitted.
Which supersedes us.
It supersedes us. It actually, there were questions as to under the land use law whether or not municipalities could do what we did. We did it, the township committee did it essentially to help those who were hurt either through Sandy or would be hurt through flood insurance premiums and whatnot. But the state legislature and the governor's office obviously now has adopted a state statute that supersedes us, but is essentially the same thing that we did. Right. That's all I have at this time, but I do have 2 matters for closed session, a personnel and a contract negotiations.
Okay, thank you. Paul?
The other thing I had was the FEMA put out an announcement through the state OEM that they're opening up the next phase of different grant programs, similar to the nature of the ones that we applied for as part of the hazard mitigation grant for the Hurricane Sandy specific funding. So I just would like authorization to those same projects that we submitted through the hazard mitigation with Hurricane Sandy that were funded through that specific, to carry those over to the general hazard mitigation grant program and apply for them there also, in case they're not.
Now, will that be the same percentage that the 90-10, or is that more of a full grant?
These are both programs are 75-25. 75% funded by the FEMA and 25% either funded by the local authority, or in case of house raisings, the 25% match would be by the homeowner. But I'm sure you've seen where most of the hazard mitigation grant money that the state is programmed out from Sandy to raise their home, the initial phases are only for primary residences. The state has made the determination that that's where they're going to put all the funding initially in the first phase, and they haven't opened that up as to date for second property owners. If we applied to the grants, we could make that, eligible for both categories if we so chose to, because we would be administrating that program, not the state. But I would like authorization to submit. We had submitted for additional stormwater controls and along Bayview Drive in Strathmere, as well as installation of a bulkhead, raising homes, and then also we put in for some stormwater control along the parkway to prevent tidal flooding underneath and over top of the parkway. So those are the 3 grant programs that I'd like to.
Yeah, so you came across the parkway.
Correct.
Everybody told me it was my backyard. I mean, it was pretty neat once I came across the parkway.
Yeah.
Okay. So do we need to make a motion to allow him to move forward, or?
I think a motion, just so it goes in the record, that he's authorized to take those actions.
I'd like to make the motion to authorize Paul to take his actions. Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
And Paul, you'll follow up with a resolution if we need be for
I
full
will.
action.
And once all the documents are finalized, I'll pass them on to the clerk's office for copies of committee, and at that time, if we want to make a resolution, we can. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara?
I have nothing this evening tonight.
Okay. How was the wedding?
Oh, it was awesome.
Congratulations.
All you have to do to go.
Jay?
One, not the other one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's see, it's actually the past couple of weeks have been, we got a little bit busier in the fire and EMS side of things, but nothing too serious. We have, if anybody has noticed over the past couple of weeks, there's a lot of poles on the ground. Probably half a dozen poles throughout the township have gotten hit. So mainly they're alongside of Tuckahoe Road and Route 50, some of the major arteries, but there's not much that can be done there because the roads are so narrow. But in any case, most of the accidents have not been too serious, other than the fact poles been hit and people might have lost electricity and there were phone service and there were cable. The other big item we have to deal, not dealing with, but I'd like to put out there again is we have a junior firefighter camp coming up that's going to be sponsored by the Upper Township Chiefs Association, and we are looking for children from the ages of 4th grade through 8th grade. It's going to run the third week in August, from August 21st, I think it is, through August 24th. And it's going to rotate from the different firehouses throughout the township, from Seagull, Marmore, to Tuckahoe, and the rescue squad is also going to be involved as well. The main reason I put that out, the newspapers have done a great job in helping us out with that, and getting some applications. This is our first time running it, and hopefully it'll be a successful program. So if anybody out there has any kids, there's still some slots available, and kids, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, anything along those lines that are in that age group, please, this is an opportunity for them to play firefighter and EMT for a week and see what it's like. We'll try to get them as much action as they possibly can and legally can. So, but it should be a good program. But just want to put that out there once again and get some more kids involved. That's what we're out there for. And hopefully the juniors will turn into actual junior firefighters and EMTs and go on and volunteer and serve their community in the future. That's what it's for. And that's all I have there.
Okay, thank you. Curtis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The one thing I have, I did read last week in the paper that the Ludlow Mile in Beachville is going to be a zero match from the local municipalities, which is a win-win for us all the way around. That's it.
Well, that's through the Army Corps, and that's a 50-year project, so that's great news for us.
And
Matter of fact, that's ecstatic news for us.
yes, that's huge. So, zero match is a no-brainer. That's all I have.
Well said.
Mr. Mayor, before we go on, I didn't leave out one thing. We had a major training exercise on Sunday throughout the township. We tested our water supply capabilities. See Mudsaw Sunday morning, have seen Sunday morning apparatus running up and down the streets, and heading back, including fire apparatus and fire trucks from other areas. There's a major, nothing left to mention, I should have mentioned that. So we got a major water supply drill held over here at the middle school, as well as use some hiding locations on State Street 3.
Okay. Tony?
A couple of things. About a month ago, we reached out to the county regarding a pothole on the Stagecoach where actually somebody fell and hurt themselves. Today, notice we learned about it. They say they want to reply as fast as they could. There's no cones, potholes has not been fixed. I'm not sure what's going on, but I think we should do something to speed up the process to do it. I don't know what the avenues are, what we do about it, but something needs to be done. It's over a month now. For one, my friends all over the store there, and nothing, it was supposed to put cones up until they got to it, we'll actually fix it, and we'll call on Friday again, and we'll apply.
Have we heard anything from Dale Foster about that or anything?
No, I haven't heard anything since.
All right, so,
That's, it's over a month. And that's, we just, Friday, hard reached out to them, and nothing. So,
Where's that located?
my friend's over.
Oh, yeah.
It's about a 4x10, so gravel.
do we have cones that we could put down temporarily?
I think it's going to expose us to liability if we put cones on, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if it's supposed to...
No, I mean, I
would
would
prefer
think-
to Paul. I haven't seen the pothole, although I confess to driving by there, so I don't know how dangerous it is, but obviously if it's a dangerous situation, we'd be better off warning folks of it
For
than...
bicyclists, that you might not see it, I don't think it's dangerous for...
It's not out in the roadway.
It's not automobile traffic I'm worried about, but a pedestrian or bicycle. It was a bicycle, a guy riding a bicycle that fell.
I think if you notify the county and let them know that you're doing that because you've had complaints.
And in fact, if we do that, we may have an opportunity to get it fixed quicker. So I would suggest that we, kind of do it in parallel. We'll put the cones up and tell them that the cones are up until you're able to fix it, and we'll,
That's only on delaying more, but the cones were here before at one time. We were here probably a year. I think it's been here for over 2 or 3 years probably.
They've been extremely responsive on some of the potholes we called in and take care of. And what Tony's talking about has the potential, even though it's on the shoulder, what's going to happen is somebody's going to ride around it and avoid it and get hit by a car. That's the problem. And so it does need to be addressed, and it should be addressed.
Is it in the right of way or is it in private property?
It's on the shoulder.
It's on the shoulder.
This is the right
It's
way.
in the paved shoulder.
Okay.
It's probably
utility
there for the
company.
water company.
It's one of the utilities. It's not the work on it. I think it's
No.
Verizon.
Right.
I think it's Verizon.
so that's probably the issue. It was opened up by a utility, and they're the ones that supposed to repair it. So-
Correct. Correct.
But that doesn't make it any better that it's not being repaired, so.
Exactly.
What they should do is go ahead and repair it and send the bill to Verizon.
At this point right now, yeah, we should have done that.
Okay. So we'll move
I'll
forward
make
with
sure
that?
there's a cone out there tomorrow.
Okay.
Oh, the other thing is that residents have heard about the trash can sites. They're kind of confused as to what we're doing with that. We told them, they were told at first that we're going to have a choice in the size of the cans, and they're also going to be able to purchase more cans than they need to. What is exactly we're doing for it? I know so much has changed here.
Until we have all the contracts in place and we have an opportunity at the supervisor level to finalize the program, then we'll be able to bring it back to Township Committee and work it out, all the final details. Once at the supervisor level, we'll bring it back to Township Committee.
Yeah, but I want to change what we said before. We were on the assumption that they're getting a choice of cans that they want, and size-wise. And they're also going to be able to purchase extra cans if they choose so.
The problem is, Tony, if we have somebody that they don't want a 90-gallon can, but they want 330s, we're not going to, if everybody does that, we don't have enough hours in the day to pick them up.
Personally, if the system's not going to work, then we should do something else. We can't tell the people not to put their garbage out.
The system
They're
won't work.
going to be on the hook for, what, million and a half between the trucks and the cans, and we're gonna tell them we can't put your trash out, but you can't pick it up.
They'll be able to pick it up in accordance with the program that we've ultimately developed.
So are we still in place that if someone wants a medium-sized can, or they want two medium-sized cans, one for recyclable and one for trash, they'll be able to get that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And they're also going to be able, as we said before, have a choice to purchase extra cans on their own, as long as they meet,
There may be criteria that's set up for that.
and what is that?
As I said previously, once we determine the final program at the supervisor level, that we meet at supervisor meetings, once it's finalized at that point, we'll bring those regulations back to Township Committee, and then they'll be discussed here.
Well, and then we should sit down soon with that, so that somebody comes up to me and asks what we're doing, I'll have an answer for that.
That's your report, Tony.
Instead of saying, well, I set up a meeting there.
And we anticipate doing that, but we were not going to go through all the fine points of that program until the containers and everything has been ordered, and then
They're
we'll
not
implement that.
fine points, this is a specific thing that we were looking at.
But how they're
And as they
implemented
were
in
told from the beginning, they were going to have a choice, a size, and if they choose so, to go on and buy an extra can or two, if they need to. Now it seems that it's not in the play anymore.
I don't think it was ever discussed that every
Yes, it
resident was
was, we
going
had
to do.
discussed that, that was one thing that we discussed. So set up a meeting soon, but and let's see where we're going.
Okay.
The
Anything
other
else?
thing is, yes, we talked about live streaming. I know that, we got the money here, and we were just waiting to see, get a few and this and that. And I'm really questioning this, why are we delayed? Do we have something to hide? This is the question that's going around.
Well, we have nothing to hide.
Well, I know.
First of all,
I
we're being
know
filmed
that.
right now. The thing of it is that we don't have the proper equipment to let us go live at this point. And we've already made a commitment at the last meeting to buy some additional cameras, to upgrade it so that it becomes more efficient, more sound efficient. In fact, I've heard people say to me that some of our folks, even up here as a committee, and I'm going to be quite open and frank here, is that people aren't opening themselves up, so the people are having sometimes difficulty hearing what's being said by many of us. So in an effort to control that and address it, we've ordered more cameras, and the idea is once we get the system working and we're comfortable with it, then we'll consider going live. But until we go that, the last thing we want to do is have all kinds of muffled sounds out there that aren't coming across properly until we make sure we have the equipment
Cameras
fine-tuned.
would be the first thing to have. I agree with that.
Okay.
We should follow up soon after that to have this.
Well, I don't think anybody said we weren't going to live stream. I just said, we just don't have the equipment at this point. We thought that we would be able to be able to survive with the one camera that we have. But by going back and forth, we've had some audio issues that need to be addressed, and we need to have whoever's going to wind up being the camera person become attuned to moving the cameras around.
Nonetheless, the question is related to, so the sooner the better.
Right. But, to suggest that we're trying to hide something, we're on TV as it is right
I
now.
know that, but
Okay.
the question is, why do we have to have it, and they're not going to have it by stream?
It's not being edited, it's being edited, so the sound upgrade is where it needs to be, quite frankly.
Tony, as you know, the video and the audio are on two different sources. They're not filmed and edited in at the same time. So there has to be some post-editing to take the audio that's from one source and the video that's from another source and put them together so that they line up. And that's what's being done now. There's no editing or cutting of
Yeah, I
the actual
know
audio.
that's happening, but whether the question is in the people's mind, someone who's mind, that's the only question. I'm not saying it's happening, I know it's not happening. Don't get me wrong, but just some of the question is why, what do you have to hide?
Well, I'm not hiding anything, are you hiding anything?
Curtis, I know that, okay? But the question's been asked.
I can tell you that the purchase order was prepared last week and sent out to the vendor. But after the last meeting, the committee had approved that we look into purchasing the equipment.
Right.
We had to get other quotes because it was well over our quote threshold. So we had to contact other vendors to get other quotes to see who was the lowest And that way the purchase
Well,
order was
hopefully
taken.
this better explains to the people that are questioning this, will see this, and they'll know what's going on. But, at this point, I'm the sooner the better.
Okay.
The last thing I have, as we all know, the AC units were stolen at the old Township Hall. I know that we might get reimbursed, we're not getting reimbursed, and I'm in the decision that I feel that this time we should not install the AC units. If we get reimbursed from the insurance company, we'll put the money on the side, and if in the future we decide to do that, we'll go down at this time. So we'll have something installed now and lose the warranty in a year or two, about a year, but lose the warranty. That doesn't make sense. I don't know if the rest committee agrees to that or not, but that's my opinion on that.
What's the consequences of non-installing them?
If we have a purchase now, the warranty starts from the day that new warranty is put in.
Yeah, but I guess the question is reimbursement tied to replacement?
We'd have to contact him.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not thinking that my car is stolen.
Have you talked to him?
And insurance reimbursement for a car. It's up to me if I'm going to buy another car or one of the same or not. It should be my problem, not theirs.
After we had our meeting this morning and you raised those concerns, I did talk to Ms. Smos, our fund commissioner, regarding the insurance reimbursement, and she said it would be no problem to get the quotes, which that's one thing we've ordered quotes to get, so we can tell the insurance company the dollar value, and once we were able to establish the dollar value, the insurance company will give us a check less our deductible, and we do not have to install them right away, so it's not a problem.
I didn't know that until this morning, but as this morning, it was not,
We've talked about everything, we've talked about selling the building and everything
and
else.
I think that's the other thing I wasn't sure about. I don't know whether we're holding on to the building, we should just sell it.
The problem is, the township, it's a small lot, we would have to do a condo, and we've done some investigating work, and we actually had an appraisal on building.
You might have had an appraisal a few years ago. I believe also it's connected with adjoining property, so you'd either have to subdivide it or condo it. And frankly, I'm not sure what the market was, whether it would have engendered much of a sale. I mean, we weren't even able to rent it, I don't think, for a period of time. So.
Yeah, because it's sitting here with insurance on it. If we sell it, do away with insurance, whatever remains on what probably nothing about it. It'll be a tax, and it'll be rid of it. So it's a win-win situation. I don't want to be holding on to it.
Well, part of it was there was a depressed market, and we had looked into it, and we felt that it was in the best interest of the residents to hold on to it for a couple of years when a lot of the real estate began to accrue again and see some value back that was there in the past. So that was part of it. Because we had informally, I believe, contacted some outside agencies to see
My
if there was
understanding
any
is the
interest.
appraisal was obtained in a scenario where someone was interested in possibly purchasing it.
For an office building or something.
But then that individual or group or whoever that was did not decide to pursue it.
2 or 3, 4 years ago, it was, and then, there's a chance it would have been, so we might have the opportunity now to see what it's worth, put it on the market, and get rid of it.
We would have to, because the fact is, we utilize that for our top lot parking and our ball field playground there. That's what was concerned before. So we would actually, I'd be in favor of selling it if we did it under a condo thing. It's basically the only open park area, 8% of the top of it is in walk business.
And it would probably have to have some type of regulations about shared parking, because if it's an office building, it needs parking, and then you have a ball field there. If you're going to continue to have the ball field, you're going to need parking for that. So that was always shared space.
Yeah, I'm sure something worked out,
Well, that's why they were talking about years ago making it a condominium and selling it as a condominium with shared space. You could do it possibly with easements as well. I'd have to look into the pros and cons.
As a matter of fact, it's no damage to it. I don't know. So what do we do with it? Just get rid of it.
But what we have to do is revisit this to,
Who's in charge of building grounds? It's you, right?
I think we got to revisit it. The market's getting better.
Yeah, and I think that was really what, I mean, we had gotten some estimates on it, and really it just seemed like it would not be in the township's best interest at the time. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it now. I mean, I'm certainly not opposed to that, but at the time, and this is probably 2 or 3 years, probably 3 years ago now that I recall, it just was so depressed that we just felt that, the minimal amount we would have gotten did not really work for the effort that would have been involved to do it, as well as making it into a condo and the fees that were involved with that.
And, you want to look at the other...
But we also did that because we had entertained looking at private land that the township owns as well. And the same thing for that, in an effort to try and offset some costs. Now, we've held on to some very valuable lots, even in the Strathmore area, that maybe eventually would pay off for the township now at this point, because properties are starting to...
It's not here, it's not certain effects at all for us to have it, and yet the tax return on will be a good benefit of the township. One have to pay insurance on it.
Agreed, but again, I think you have to be careful what goes in there.
Of course, they have to go before his own employee, client or whatever else, before us, and so, all management will go out for us on there. To have it sitting in empty like that and not produce anything, it doesn't make any sense. What do we have to do?
It would have to be investigated. You'd have to probably have someone pull the files to see how old the appraisal was. You'd have to have some type of market analysis, and you'd have to have frankly, an auction to sell off whatever the interest you decide to do.
How do we do that?
Well, Mr. Barr is in charge of building his ground.
I think we could look at it again. We looked at it in the past. We had this with the same idea, but again, with the deflated market as it was at the time, it just didn't make financial sense overall for the township to do something with it. So,
I think obviously I'm in favor of it. We investigated it once and it wasn't economically feasible.
yeah, but I mean, if things have changed, then we were also up against a multitude of office space that was still available in the township, and so not only were we looking into selling a building, hopefully, for an office or something like that, but there was a substantial amount of new properties that had been built in the township that went unrented, and so we were up against that as well. So it just didn't make sense at the time to go forward with it, but maybe now's the time.
Still in the scheme of things, we're paying insurance on it, we're not having any taxes on it, and just sitting here, and there's no benefit to the township at all. Well, it's not one particular we're talking about now, or any other problems that we have.
I agree.
I think we want to look back into it, and what do we have to do?
Do we leave that from a motion, or?
No, if Mr. Barr is going to take it as part of his department and then report back to it, to the committee, that should be sufficient.
Should have a follow-up.
Sure.
Is that all?
Yep.
Ed?
As I reported last meeting, we had problems with the well out at Amanda's. Paul, do we have an update as far as where we stand with that?
I know they're working on it. I have not had an update to that since I got back from vacation.
Okay. And Mother Nature's been good to us, so we got some free sprinkling tonight, so. Sounds like the bike-a-thon and everything went well. The triathlon went well down at Beasley's Point. A little bit of congestion down at the boat ramp area, but I understand that everything worked out well. And other than that, that's all I have to report.
Okay. I just have a couple things. One, as we get towards the end of the year and lifeguards start going back to school and college, we have some that are teachers. We have 4 people I'd like to hire. They won't start until August 20th, and they'll have to go through all the protocols of the background check and the other things, that criteria they have in place for hire. But 3 of the 4 have been with us as guards in the past. And the other one's gone through the junior lifeguard program and is also a certified lifeguard to begin with. So 4 people that I'd like to hire is Brenda Howard, Emily Conover, PJ Dietrich, and Kay Tobias. I'll make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And speaking of the lifeguards, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate our squad. They tied Ocean City for the South Jersey Championship on this past Friday night. I was over in Margate. I will say that it was incredibly exciting. They've had a tremendous year of competitive to be with. I mean, they understand their first responsibility is to take care of the beach. But I think it really speaks highly of the trained guards that we have, and that Ocean City and many of the other squads, Margate, Ventnor, are way bigger than we are. We have approximately less than a third of the size of Ocean City, and yet we fared extremely well. So with that, I'd like to make a resolution thanking them and congratulating them on their win or their tie in South Jersey Championships, and also for the great season that they've had. They've made a number of rescues this year. In fact, one of the rescues that I'm aware of, the person that was having problems being drawn out actually was a blind person, so they were able to handle that as well. So I would like to work with Barbara in congratulating the lifeguards on a successful season, and they really rose to the occasion. They represent Upper Township well, so that's a form of a motion.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion
Mr. Mayor,
carried.
I'd also like to add, I know that you are a lifeguard squad altogether, but if you take a look at some of the competitors that are there on our REs, they are Upper Township residents.
Everyone that placed, including my nephew, and I'll put some kudos, he finished first in the singles row. Everyone that scored are residents of Upper Township, which I think is a
The
great
Ocean
thing to
guards
say.
as well.
And that,
You're right.
and they're competing against people that have rowed. Some of them are 28, 30 years old, 35 years old. Kevin Gill, who has placed in the top 3 every competition this year, is a 16-year-old Upper Township resident that swims for Ocean City High. And I think that speaks loudly. That is something that we have always asked the guards to look at, that we think that having Upper Township residents on the squad is important. And they've done a tremendous job. They really have.
And your nephew came in first in the, obviously in the
Single row.
And he was fifth in the double, so
He rode the singles after the double. He rode the singles after the double. So I mean, it's not for self here. I mean, it's amazing how many young, real good individuals we have on our squad, and they're able to compete with these. And some of them row year-round, and some of them swim for Penn State and many other, and they're recruited. And we have our Upper Township residents that are pretty much making up the entire, or at least the majority of the squad. So that's something to be proud of.
Yes, he turned out a lot of good athletes.
Yes. I also want to point out that the Historical Preservation Society will have its 215th anniversary. It'll be the 215th anniversary of the Township of Upper and the 35th anniversary of the Historical Preservation Society of Upper Township. That will be held on Tuesday, September 10th from 7 to 9. It will be at, I guess, the Community Center. And so they're asking if we can come and join them. They've made a tape, a DVD, The History of Upper Township. And yours truly had an opportunity to play a part in that. So I'd suggest that we all try and make that if we can. And then finally, just to make everybody aware, there is a church activity in Strathmere on Wednesday evening. There will be a number of St. Maximilian Kolbe parishioners that will be in Strathmere for a Mass, and then also a blessing of the sea. The rescue squad's aware of it. The lifeguards are aware of it. Even though it starts at 6 o'clock, we do have an after-hours staff that's there from 6 to 8. Hopefully, it'll go very smoothly. This is the first time we've had something like this over there. So I know that the church has been calling me and has been working, and I know went through all the necessary paperwork with Barbara. So that will take place at 6 o'clock on Wednesday evening. So that's all I have, and if anybody else has anything to add in between, let me know. And Barbara, with that, we'll move on to the resolutions.
Item number 1, honoring the memory of Sergeant William R. Godfrey, United States Army, 1st Battalion, 8th Cavalry Regiment, on the dedication of the Sergeant William R. Godfrey Memorial Park.
I'll move the resolution.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Nocera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mr. Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
And for those, just for the record, this park is in front of Osprey Point. Sergeant William Godfrey was an Upper Township resident who gave the ultimate sacrifice during the Vietnam War, and he was both a recipient of the Bronze Star and the Silver Star. So it's certainly fitting that he be honored and that park be named the Godfrey Memorial Park. So.
Item number 2, congratulating Abigail Craig on winning first place in the 2013 Philadelphia Phillies Home Run Derby.
Move the resolution. Second.
And I might add the Phillies could use a couple of these home run derby folks because they're not doing very well. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Nocera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 3, congratulating Christopher Fury on winning first place in the 2013 Philadelphia Phillies Home Run Derby.
Move the resolution.
Second?
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Nocera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 4, congratulating Brian Fury on winning third place in the 2013 Philadelphia Phillies Home Run Derby.
Move the resolution.
Second?
Please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Nocera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 5, accepting the bid and authorizing the execution of a contract with H.A. Hart and Son of Thoroughfare, New Jersey, for the furnishing and delivery of one rear-loading refuse collection vehicle in the amount of $161,661.
Move the resolution?
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Nocera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes. And this memorializes the purchase of the rear end loader, correct?
We're going to trust.
Yes, the one truck.
Item number 6, accepting the bid and authorizing execution of a contract with Cascade Engineering of Grand Rapids, Michigan, for the furnishing and curbside delivery and assembly of refuse collection in containers in the amount of $558,409.50.
Yeah, this has no size on the order. It's just in general, the overall price, cost of it.
It's the dollar amount plus the quantities that were in the bid quantity.
But if we authorize this, now we're going to be able to give township taxpayers the choice, or this will include that.
Well, depending on what programs ultimately established, you may have to buy more containers, yes.
But this will cover,
This
this
covers for every resident to have one trash container and one recycling container.
Of their choice. The size-wise.
well,
Well,
I mean,
not-
I guess the question, let's rephrase the question. The amount that's being approved tonight, will that be enough to cover the large cans of the recyclable and a regular trash can?
Yes.
Okay, so
It would be a mixed batch.
in the event that we worked out smaller containers, it should theoretically be less, right?
Correct.
Okay. Does that help? Okay, so would you call the roll, please?
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Oh, you need a motion. I'll make the motion.
Second?
Would you call the roll, please?
Certainly. Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Nocera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 7, rejecting all bids received for the 2013 or newer automated refuse collection and vehicles and authorizing the township to re-advertise for bids.
Move the resolution.
Second?
Okay, and this is based on some conversations we had the last meeting. And we have, well, you know what, let's take a vote and then we'll find out where we are on this. Can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Nocera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman? Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And when do we anticipate going back out for bid again?
We have a meeting tomorrow morning to do a final review of the revised specifications, and we hope to be able to advertise later this week, given, hopefully we'll be able to come to a conclusion. So, should be advertising this week.
All right, let's go more to the next one, please.
Item number 8, authorizing the mayor and township clerk to sign a contract with accounts receivable management for collection services for emergency medical service accounts.
Move the resolution.
Second. Ian, question real quick. My daughter's dating his nephew, so.
I would abstain.
This is the collections.
This is the
Billing.
This isn't the payroll or the standard collection. This is for those accounts that are seriously delinquent and they want to transfer them to a law firm, actually. Yeah.
I mean, no conflict then?
Is any decision-making by CASA? Or not CASA,
No,
what's it?
the
CAPE?
Cape Billing, no.
It's-
No decisions are made. Cape sends me a list of accounts that they can't collect on from a period of time, and then I send them to.
All right, so you have no conflict.
What's the percentage that this company will,
25% they collect.
But this is.
And have you sent
when it
any,
gets to this,
we
it's
haven't sent
almost-
any to collection on this contract
Oh, no,
yet, have we?
I send them twice a month to collect.
Oh, for these? Okay, okay.
But they're to the point where they've gone through the whole process and.
Yes.
Correct.
Getting
It's been
anything at this point
It's
is.
been at least 90 days, they've been sent regular billings, it's been at least 90 days, and, you know, they've collected some or very little, it just depends. But Cape Billing does a thorough job at trying to collect as much as they can before they
and
turn
then
the
on the
accounts back.
collection agency, my question is this, I mean, obviously there are some people that just don't want to pay the bills, and then there are those that can't afford to pay the bills. What do we do in case like that?
We do.
I don't know about that.
The residents are encouraged, well, not just residents, but the patients are encouraged to contact either Cape Billing or myself, and they do. From time to time, we have a committee, Committeeman Newman, myself, and our tax assessor will make decisions when we hear of a hardship case. So there are hardship cases, and we look at each individual one, and I would say most of the time, we usually grant the hardship.
Right, and just for the record, since we are filming this, we do not want anyone not to call the rescue squad for fear that they're not financially able to do that.
And our ordinance actually provides for the hardship cases that Barbara is
Exactly.
indicating. Our
I mean,
ordinance provides
part
for
of it
people
is,
who can't
and part of the
afford it.
reasons why we have to pursue this process is that we're following the CMS guidelines for Medicaid and Medicare. And a majority, or I shouldn't say majority, but a reasonable amount of the people being transported are under Medicare. And so Medicare, CMS sets up guidelines that we need to follow, and that's why this whole process is in place. And so we can't just write it off without trying to move forward with the process.
Yeah, I mean, we should try to collect, whenever it's possible, and again, if they're fixed income and they're, they're on Medicare, Medicaid, to go after them and for more, I think the ones that pushing is paid for by Medicare and Medicaid, and if it's, if they truly can't pay, they should just go out and
The hardship cases, this is not what we're after out-of-state people that aren't hardship cases, just get down and figure it out.
I mean,
I want to make clear, that's.
that's what's in place at this point. I mean,
And our ordinance does have
Yes.
the ability, and the process that we're following does exactly what you just described.
Well, even those out of state, if they truly can't afford it, and then, it's a different thing, but there are people that just don't want to pay the time, in a hardship like that, I think it's just.
well, they're taken on an individual basis, and
Yeah, and collection agency, what they're about,
This is-
they're not.
this is a
We're
soft
hard,
approach.
we know what we're doing here, what we want to do. Collection agency, they get paid 100% of what they can.
This is
So-
a soft approach collection agency. We tell them how we want them to handle it. But again, it's a soft approach. We do not go aggressively to collect.
Have they done work for Township before?
yeah.
We've used this collection
And you
agency.
find them to be,
They're easy to work with. They'll call me with
I just don't want them
questions.
to be watchers on people that can't afford to pay.
I'll be honest with you, I don't believe we've heard one complaint from anyone with someone being contacted by this agency. And, it's just more, is there something that can be done? Can we work this out? What can-
Most of the hardship cases are established before it even gets this far.
Yeah, well, no, this, I would venture to guess that we probably have less than a half a dozen total hardship cases a year where we wet the whole thing off. And that is usually their they know it's a hardship case to begin with, and they have certain documentation of that. This company here has been, like I said, it's a soft building approach, which is what our attitude was with the whole thing. We did not want people not to call the ambulance, but we also have an obligation to try to collect the funds.
I agree.
Some people are sticking their nose up and thumbing their nose at us, and that we don't want that.
And it has to be for, those that just don't want to pay the bills, but then there are, those that want to pay, just can't afford to pay. And I don't want them to be,
And they're not.
Legislators are not after vultures and try to, do a.
They're not. I mean,
That's not going to happen.
we have always stressed from the very beginning, when we've incorporated the use of insurance, which, by the way, every other town's doing the same thing, is that we wanted the residents, especially those that have some income problems, to not hesitate calling. Our biggest fear in incorporating this was that someone would not call a rescue squad for whatever reason. And I don't know that it's happened very often, because there are many times where, and Chief Potter, you can attest to this, there are many times where, I know, and I got to be careful not to have any HIPAA violations, but someone in the neighborhood, we've been there maybe 7 or 8 times. So at no point when someone picks up the phone and asks for the call, do we not go.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm implying. It's the fact that people will not call to try to get them to the hospital themselves. And in the case where a couple of times there was people with heart conditions trying to get to the hospital themselves, got up right down the parkway and didn't make it because they were afraid of what was going to happen.
Well, I think that, and we're on video and we have, the media here. I thought we've made it extremely clear on more than twice or 4 or 5 times a year that we want no one to not take advantage of the incredible rescue squad that we have. And I think for the most part that information is there. If we need to go further with it, we certainly can add it add it to your website, and we'll add it as a link on ours. But that has always been stressed.
So I think it's not the rescue squad right now.
I know it's not the public comment, but as the EMS chief, I'll let you know that our department has an internal box on the run sheet. If the crew treating the patient feels it's a hardship case, they can check off the box, say hardship, this is why. So well before it even sees the billing company, these guys know we're saying it's a hardship case.
You have some safety in place.
There's all kind of stops to say that before the billing company even sees it, we know it's going to be a hardship case.
Let's say you had safety in place that won't happen. That's not part of that.
Jay, how many people you picked up on the parkway had a heart attack driving themselves to the hospital?
There was a case 3 years ago, the man didn't
That's
die. The man didn't die, but he got up right down with that, and he had to pull over. They called an ambulance when he was on way to the hospital himself, because he thought he couldn't afford the squad.
Well, anyway, that's an unfortunate situation, but that's not our policy here in the township, nor will it ever be our policy in the township. So, but we have a resolution here to move forward with this, and it is it is a company we've had in place for a number of years. So, we have a first and a second. And is there any other discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 9, partnering with the Upper Township School District for the joint purchase of office supplies and paper.
Move the resolution. Second.
Any discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr.
Yeah, but one second. Then you were saying that this one, the yearly contract?
No. Well, this one's for a year, but it's really just supplies. It's not the shared services for the fields or the facilities. It's only for office supplies.
This is
Yes.
Just
copying materials, pens, anything like that.
No,
That's-
it's just copy paper. Even though it says supplies, it's just copy paper that we purchase it through the school. The school purchases their supply, their amount. They contact us, purchase our amount. We save a lot of money that way. I've had vendor just recently in my office saying that he could get a better price for us on copy paper. He could not.
So would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 10, a resolution establishing a Green Team Advisory Committee.
Move the resolution.
Second.
And that will be Anthony and Sarah, Paul Dietrich, Caitlin Wintz, Karen Mitchell, and Ralph Cooper. Please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 11, authorizing a notice of violation and abatement of nuisance for Block 455, Lot 33 pursuant to Township Code 11-1.
I'll move the resolution
Second.
for discussion. Why are we doing this? Doesn't the zoning officer have the opportunity? to do
No,
that?
under our ordinance, the Township Committee has to authorize a notice of violation to go out.
Okay.
Okay, now let me ask you a question, Andy. We have a letter here for 3 of the next meeting.
No, I believe that letter's for these.
These are these.
That letter refers to 11, 12, and 13 on your agenda.
Okay.
It's an explanation.
Why can't we do all these on one resolution?
I guess you could, but frankly, they're going to be separate files in the clerk's office and the zoning officer's office as well, and if it ever gets litigated, it's better to have it as a separate file.
Okay.
Let's call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 12, authorizing a notice of violation and abatement and nuisance for Block 455, Lot 16.
Move the resolution.
Second. Would you call the roll, please? This is the
Mr. Barr?
same type of thing as the last one.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes. Yes.
Item number 13, authorizing a notice of violation and abatement of nuisance for Block 350, Lot 9.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera? Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 14, declaring a default with respect to Melvin Development LLC, Principal and Penn National Insurance Surety Bond, number SB 0331362, and authorizing the settlement of the claim against Penn National Insurance with respect to that subdivision known as Greendale Drive Major Subdivision, Block 646, Lot 17.02, in the Township of Upper Cape May County, New Jersey.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Dan, you want to fill us in?
This is a major subdivision where the developer went bankrupt, and we had to declare default because they never put the top coat, the final top coat on, as they were required to do. The bonding company was notified pursuant to instructions of the Township Committee previously. The bonding company visited the site and essentially said that the bond should cover our costs, and has agreed to settle it with cutting a check to the township for the amount of the bond, which is, if you look in the resolution, I believe it's stated $16,567.42, and that settlement would resolve all issues, and I think Paul would confirm that that should be sufficient to include this in our paving project, the next one we do.
Yeah,
It's just straight up from the church, right?
it's right off the church, yes. And that should be sufficient with the, if included in the road paving project.
Essentially, this is why you do the bonds on the subdivisions. So if they go belly up, we have a fund to complete the road. And this resolves it.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 15, canceling taxes on exempt property, Block 557, Lot 27.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay. And this is veteran with 100% disabled American veteran. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 16, tax refund for Block 567, Lot 27.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Same thing, same individual. Please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 17, canceling taxes on exempt property, Block 723, Lot 61.04.
Move the resolution.
Second.
And again, this is 100% disabled American veteran. Let's call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 18, cancel tax sale certificate on Block 330, Lot 17.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 19, tax refunds for homestead benefits.
Move the resolution.
Second, and can someone just explain
All
what
right,
that is?
if you look at the bottom of that resolution, what happened was these are all disabled American veterans that obviously do not pay taxes. And during the year, the state will send the rebate check to the municipality, to the tax collector to credit against taxes. Well, we got the check, but they didn't have any taxes. So until the state catches up, we have to refund them their homestead rebate.
So we credit them and don't charge them taxes, and we still have to pay back the homestead
This
rebate?
is actually for tax year 2011.
Right. It's, in other words, it's for when they paid it previously. This is the rebate that, on the taxes that they paid. Now, when they don't pay any taxes, they're not going to get a rebate. But it's money, it wasn't our money to begin with. It's money that, we used to get a check in the mail, now it's a credit against your taxes.
Right.
And we received their checks when they paid taxes before they got exempt, and now it goes back to them. Because we have no taxes to write it off of for them.
Okay. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 20, public hearing and final adoption of ordinance number 10, authorizing the use of up to $20,000 from the Capital Improvement Fund for the purchase of street signs.
Okay, before I open up to the public, does any other comments from the Township Committee?
You said if we don't do these signs, we're going to lose the transportation fund at one time. Am I correct?
No, we'll be in violation of federal law, and it could jeopardize any federal funds,
Grant money.
grant money.
Transportation.
Or anything.
Any.
Including the Army Corps of Engineers.
Paving
and-
projects mainly.
Paving projects.
Right.
We wouldn't get the grants.
Like, Perry Road was done with grant money, Peach Orchard Road was done with grant money.
And we have, right now, we have Bayview Drive for $175,000, and we have Ocean Avenue for $150,000. That could be,
So it's because of that, they're going to spend $20,000.
as well as legal.
Well, this is public safety too. It's to replace small signs that aren't fluorescent with larger signs that are fluorescent and meet federal code.
And they also have a font size big enough that motorists can see them without, slamming on the brakes because they can't see where they're going, so.
And that would open it, if the signs weren't in compliance, that would also open the township to legal liability of not having compliant signs.
And it's interesting because I have gone through a number of towns in Cape May County, and there are a number of towns that are doing exactly what we're doing. They're replacing the signs, so I guess everybody is trying to bring themselves into compliance. So, okay, at this time, is there anybody from the public that would like to address us on this ordinance that will allow us to move forward with replacing the street signs so that they have better clarity, they're bigger, and easier to read?
Enjoy the scene at nighttime.
Hearing silence. Let the record reflect that there was no public comment on this public hearing for this ordinance, and I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion for adoption.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 10 of 2013, noting there's no public comment. Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 21, under new business, Upper Township Soccer Association requests to hold a raffle on May 9th, 2014 at the Upper Township Community
They are
Center.
planning ahead. I looked at that 2000, I'm thinking, I mean, that's like 10 months in advance, 11 months. I saw that, I'm like, wow, they're really ahead of, they're really good planners.
I want to make sure they get
I'd like to make a motion to grant that.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mark the counters, we don't forget.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 22, Historical Preservation Society of Upper Township requests to hold their anniversary celebration on September 10th, 2013 at the Upper Township Community
I
Center.
guess we have to approve it, the mayor already announced it.
You better not let them down.
I'd like to make a motion to approve that. Second?
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr? Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 23, Ronald and Charlotte Van Sant request to donate privately owned property located at 30 Randolph Avenue, Block 829, Lot 8, to the Township of Upper.
Is there, I guess, obviously, it would be subject to all conditions, but it's vacant property, correct?
Vacant property, the township, we already have the perpetual storm damage easement on the property. He's already signed that, and he's just getting to a point where the taxes, I mean, the stamp is more than what the taxes are every time he has to mail it in, so he just wants to, realizes he probably should have donated it instead of doing the deed easement, and just wants to clear this off of his docket.
Well, my question is here, we normally do title searches and all that.
Well, my question is it on the beach? Is it a beach lot?
Yes.
Is it an area where there's a bulkhead or no? Which lot is the first developed lot off of Commonwealth? Or last developed lot, I should say, from Commonwealth?
402, I believe.
All right. So it's significantly into the beach.
Yes, it's on the beach.
All right. I can find out whether they ever had a title search and maybe we saved the...
They have title insurance.
They had title? Okay, so if they have title search and I review it and it's acceptable, we shouldn't have to spend the money. It's never going to be developed. We already have a beach easement on it. When we did the beach easements, the Township Committee, unless it was a condemnation situation, elected and directed that we not do a title search because of the costs.
Yes.
Because they're never going to be developed, and as long as we have the rights to the beach, we have the rights to the beach.
That's where I was at. I didn't want to see this for good money after.
Right. And the only other qualification, and Barbara pointed it out to me, is they asked that we, because they're donating it to us, that we prepare the deed and incur that expense. And it's not going to be anything exorbitant, it's $75. So I would suggest to get ownership of another beach parcel, it's probably worth
It's
it.
a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So would someone like to make a motion that we move forward with this?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the donation from Ron and Charlotte Van Sant.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried.
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and then incorporated in full in the minutes of this meeting.
Second. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried.
There were a number of reports from the municipal departments: construction code, clerk's office, animal control, tax assessor, tax collector, finance office, MUA report, and the division of EMS for the township and Corbin City. All of those municipal reports will be available tomorrow upon request at the township clerk's office, but I'll make a motion to accept the reports.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, at this time, we'll open it up if there's any public comment. Please come up and address the Township Committee, state your name and your address.
Good evening. My name is John Coggins. I live at 12 Coventry Lane in the Palermo section of Upper Township. I was kind of encouraged to see that the township has decided to throw out the bids for the automated side loaders. Now, I realize that was done on a technicality, and the intent is to continue to go out and change the spec for automated side loading equipment. I believe that the automated side loaders are the wrong tool for the job. Does the township intend to cease collection of bulk material?
The plan,
Not,
No.
not that I'm aware of.
We'll continue to pick up bulky items.
Can bulk material be picked up from an automated side load vehicle?
We will not be picking them up with the automated side loading vehicle.
Okay. Will Strathmere be picked up with an automated side load?
Not
Not
at this time.
side, it'll be a rear, from what I understand, a rear load.
Will vegetation continue to be picked up with a rear load?
Yes.
Okay, so what I see is you're purchasing one rear load truck and 2 automated side load vehicles.
Yes,
The rest of the fleet is considered functionally obsolete or getting to the point of functional obsolescence, which is the reason for going out for additional trash trucks.
We also pick up stuff with 2 state body trucks with lift gates.
Okay. Now you're talking about your bulk material?
Yes.
All right. In addition to that, 2 meetings ago, I heard the mayor ask some very good and well thought out questions. He asked, how are we going to handle families who need more capacity for their trash disposal than one 96-gallon cart? There was not an answer. This evening, Committeeman Sarah had asked some similar questions. How are we going to address families that may need, because of disability reasons or even because of set-out reasons, additional carts? We're using a different combination of sizes for carts. Once again, I heard there was no plan in place for that. Yet tonight, we approved a bid for carts. Are we kind of in a ready, fire, aim mode here?
well, no, I think what was discussed before we took a vote on it was, and that's what I asked for clarification. If the amount that was approved tonight covers 2 large cans, one for recyclables and one for trash, and as this plan is developed and smaller cans are incorporated into this, I think there's 3 sizes they were looking at. Would the price that was being approved tonight, the overall amount, decrease if we got more smaller cans than what was originally anticipated? And I think the answer was yes.
Correct.
And so I happen to be in agreement that, talking to a number of residents, and I'll use Osprey Point as an example because a number of those folks have talked to me, and I've always been on the impression that they could, if there's 2 people living at home, they could theoretically get smaller cans and be able to exist with that. If they have some visitors or whatever, it'll be, maybe a little bit more difficult. My concern has always been not how to decrease the cans, but how do we effectually take care of people that have, 4 or 5 kids, or, where the trash is a substantial amount. I mean, there isn't, a trash day doesn't go by in my house where there isn't 3 cans of recyclables. My wife is really attuned to it, and I can't even put a piece of paper in it, in the trash. So, there has to be some balance. We're going to have to work that out a little bit. But you have my assurance that, I expected this to be an opportunity for residents to decide what works best for them. But I think the issue also needs to be worked out. When you start cutting some of the smaller cans significantly, and somebody says, well, you know what, I don't want the bigger cans, I'm going to get 6 small cans and just pay the difference. That's when you run into a problem. That's when the program and the process becomes slowed or defective. So that is what I was hoping that the meeting that was going to take place with Mr. Ansara, who's the head of Public Works, and Mr. Dietrich and some of the supervisors, how we're best going to plan this. But the amount that was approved tonight should cover all those different idiosyncrasies so that hopefully it will work to everyone's advantage. That's my understanding, and that's what I'm going to push for.
I understand that point. I guess my question comes back to the fact that for those families who are going to need in excess of one 96-gallon container for MSW and one 96-gallon container for recycling material, or a combination of the above, how is that going to be addressed? Are we going to limit the homeowners to the 1 can of each? Are we going to permit the homeowners to purchase their own cans from the township?
Well, that
That
will definitely be the case. If someone wants extra cans, other than the 2 that we're going to provide, they will be paying for it. Now, I will tell you that I'm familiar with this system in some other properties, down south and stuff, that I've seen this quite a bit. And the most I've ever seen, because ever since we started these discussions, I've kind of like done, my own research, informal research as to driving around neighborhoods, and whether it's in Florida or North Carolina, based on, because I do travel with my job a little bit, I have an opportunity to go to other cities based on my job responsibility. I look to see what's out there. And honestly, I've never seen anyone have more than 2 of each, okay?
I would tend to agree with that from my own experience, and I do have experience in the industry.
Right.
I guess, back to my question, will residents be permitted to put out more than one 96-gallon can?
And that's my hope, and that's what I have intended for this from the very beginning, so.
And for now and then, we went the wrong trucks, but the system's not working.
Right, I mean,
Something else.
it's going to take some,
I think all along was planned that they could have more than one 96-gallon can if they wanted it or needed it.
yeah, and it's going to take responsibility on the individuals as well. Right now, we have a very free-throwing, it's very not enforced per se. I mean, we say in our ordinance it's supposed to be in trash cans. Well, we all know there's a number of garbage bags that are put out, and they're picked up and no one's cited and those kind of things. In the future, that's not going to work. And so the responsibility for us is to ensure that they have the cans that they need, but the responsibility of the homeowner is to start utilizing this new system when it's put in place. And to be honest with you, it probably will be better from a litter standpoint with the automatic lids on them. I would think, hopefully, there'll be less of an opportunity for them to blow around. Some of the complaints that we've had is obviously when the wind comes, the trash cans blow. These containers do appear to be way more stable than an average round trash can. So
They are. It's a tremendous system. Aesthetically, it's much better for the community. In terms of the lids and everything else, you're spot on. Who's going to handle the maintenance of the containers that are distributed by the township?
Township.
We are.
Okay, the township is going to handle the maintenance?
We have a 10-year warranty on defective cans.
Okay, does that warranty cover damage by vectors?
By what?
Squirrels, animals? Squirrels love to eat plastic. They love to eat those lids. This township is loaded with them. Is the township going to maintain the lids in the containers?
They're the township's containers, yes.
Okay, so the township will be maintaining them. What's budgeted for that maintenance?
Well, nothing has been budgeted at this point, but I will tell you that there are a number of other communities like ours that are utilizing those cans at this point.
Absolutely. I'm not questioning that a bit, and I'm not against the use of these containers. My question is, how are we handling the budgetary items?
Actually, next year, we will put together our budget, and that's one of the things we will probably have a line item in there for.
Okay, so there's no plan in place at this point.
Well, we haven't even started our budget.
Well, and not only that, we haven't even obviously completed the purchase of the trash cans to make the system work in the first place. The last thing we want is to buy cans and let them sit, so.
It's going to be February or March before this program's enacted, full tilt.
Okay.
To answer your question, it's not in place right now.
There's nothing in place now. Okay, the use of the automated side loader is currently if I'm not mistaken, you're using two trash trucks, you're using 2 recycling trucks and 1 vegetation truck. You're going to replace that on the street with 1 vegetation truck, 1 automated side loader for recycling, 1 for trash. Is that correct?
That's what they budgeted for, yes.
Okay, with that budget, you currently have on the 5 trucks you're using 15 heads, 15 laborers. That's 5 trucks with 3-man crews. You'll be going down to 3 trucks, 2 with the driver only, 1 with the 3-man crew to pick up the vegetation.
And one
That's it.
with the rear end loader probably will be, I don't know if that's 2.
Right, that's the 3-man crew.
Right.
So what that does is that takes your head count on the street down from 15 to 5, which essentially is a labor savings of 10 heads.
Actually, it's 7, because there'll be 2 rear loaders and 2 side loaders operating.
I thought the side loaders were to eliminate the rear loaders.
You have the compost truck, and then you have the one rear loader truck.
What would the rear loader truck be for?
We're going to keep,
Bulky items and picking up shrapnel.
But you're only going to be using that on certain days of the week. So, okay, let's just say 7. That would essentially take you down in labor costs by about $200,000. Now, that $200,000 in labor units, and I understand that the intent is to remain headcount neutral, which I'm also in favor of. What budget items are going to be reduced going forward with this additional labor that you're going to have? Or is that labor used?
Yeah, we do have 4 part-time people in the summer, so that'll be they'll be eliminated.
Okay.
And
what's the value of the part-time people?
15 grand a piece.
Yeah.
So there's 60,000 there. And on top of that, there are few individuals that are contemplating retirement in the very near future. So through retirement, attrition, we will not be replacing those heads.
Have they given their notice of retirement at this point?
They haven't as yet, but there's been some, at least informal talks about it. I mean, there's never any guarantee for anybody, even if they give you a letter, until they actually leave, they're still there. So
Is there a mandatory retirement age within the township?
there isn't.
It's also conceivably these people who are contemplating retirement at this point could stay for 5 more years.
That's possible, but that hasn't been the case in past history.
Okay.
So
In the last 4 or 5 years, we've lost, what, 6 people?
6 or 7 people.
And we haven't replaced them.
So, I mean, again, anything's possible. I would agree with you on that. Until they actually say goodbye, it's been a great run, and say goodbye.
Actually, until they cash their first pension check.
Well, but if history, gives us some indication, people are pretty consistent when they get to the level of where they are eligible. There are at least a significant amount of people that take advantage of that. And again, there's no guarantee, but we anticipate that should happen.
Okay, so your decision to purchase these trucks and to reallocate your labor force is based on speculation that you may have some people retire.
Well, I mean, if they don't, we will use them for something else. I mean, there are a significant amount of maintenance things that, still could be utilized and be done in the township. But if that's our worst scenario. But our best scenario is that we realize the savings. And already off the bat, we realized 60,000 of the 200 and some thousand you talked about.
Are these maintenance items that you're speaking of items that are currently being performed by third-party vendors?
Not necessarily, but some of them aren't even being done. I mean, we probably need repairs, and I'll use examples. We probably need repairs on the lifeguard stations because they always need maintenance. We have built significant amount of beach ramps, people that have done. But of late, some of those projects have been put aside because we've had 6 people have left, so we're trying to balance the staff that we have. And we don't do that just with Public Works. I mean, if you look at our staffing here at the Township Hall compared to other towns, we absolutely operate on, and that's a compliment to our staff here. We operate at a very low level compared to other towns our size and with our budget.
Yes, and I will tend to agree with you that in terms of headcount for a township this size, we are kind of at the minimums. What I'm really looking for here are real specific answers as to where these labor units are going to be used and to what budgetary items, line items, that they're going to offset for the taxpayers. The premise of purchasing these automated side loaders, which are more expensive than the rear loaders, are not as versatile as the rear loader the trash trucks, is to recognize this labor savings. And so far, other than some part-time people, which may amount to $60,000, I haven't really seen where those labor savings are going to benefit the township.
Well, we haven't put the process in place yet, so I would say stay tuned, because that will certainly be one of my goals.
All right, so we're back to buying equipment prior to having a plan in place.
But I wouldn't necessarily say that, because I still contend that history is a good precedent to go by. And, I mean, having served on this township committee for 16 years, I can tell you that in a rare occasion, does someone stay on a lot longer than what you would anticipate them staying. I'm not saying they wouldn't, and I'm not saying that could change. But I think based on history and based on the level and where some of our good employees are at this point with respect to their age and their retirement eligibility, I would say that there's a real good chance that this plan will fall into place at the right time and really work to the benefit of everyone.
I think, John, one of our most significant savings, and one line item that would probably be reduced with the enactment of this program, is the workers' complement. So I gotta believe that's gonna go way down.
Okay.
Also, what will go down is our tipping fees. Most towns, when they see automation, they see at least a 10 to 15% reduction in tipping fees because the solid waste is lighter because it does not get as wet. Also, we've been studying this for several months at the supervisor level and developing what we're going to do. We have not finalized the exact details of the plan because, as I stated to the committee previously, we're not going to come out with all the fine points of a plan if they're not going to purchase the equipment and the containers. But it doesn't mean that we haven't been talking at supervisors meetings and talking and formulating how we're going to implement plans. So to say that the committee doesn't have a plan today, yes, but we're not going to implement this plan until February. And letters will be going out to residents over the next couple months once we know delivery times and get that detailing more of the information of what the plans are well in advance of the program being implemented. There's also maintenance items that we're not being able to get done now because we are short-staffed. As the committee person said, we're down about 6 or 7 people. So there's roadside maintenance, swale maintenance, park maintenance that's not getting done today or getting done less frequently. When you look at the park or the roadside, in our roadsides, the grass gets taller. We can't get out there and mow it every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks that we may want to. It may be over a month before we get back and mow those roadside swales.
I mean,
Those are items that will be able to be more programmatic.
No, I do understand that, and I think where I'm coming from is, you said it yourself, you're purchasing the equipment, yet the plan is not in place.
I would disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there isn't a final plan in place. But believe me, I wasn't signing my name off of anything until at least I had some good understanding that we were able to utilize the trucks and the machinery that we're purchasing, that there wasn't potential for savings in the long run, and that most importantly, that there wasn't a safety initiative that was put in place as to why this made sense to do. And from that point on, maybe there's not X, Y, and Z in place at this point, but I would say that X and Y is in place, and if it equals Z at some point, it'll get there. But this has been a conversation we've had. In fact, I appreciate your willingness to get involved with these with the subcommittee and stuff. But there's been a lot of talk, and not just with the supervisors. There's been talk with our personnel itself. In fact, I'll ask Mr. Insider, to your department, is there anything you'd like to add to this?
You know what, basically, the extra labor we're going to have will be redistributed from the township, things that, as Paul said, we're going to be able to get to. We are short end of time. The other thing is that, as this person said, the insurance. Workers' compensation, we were at almost uninsured at one time, whereas now we have good insurance, with some better than before, and hopefully we'll get better once this takes place. And there's a good things right there too. So what the final city's going to be, can tell you, not until it gets up and running, and we'll know exactly what we're working with. But there are savings, and now immediately, if there will be savings, we long run.
Okay, so what we're saying is it's going to be an undetermined amount of savings at some time in the future, yet we haven't been able to pinpoint it yet.
Well, we're pretty clear on the 60,000,
Okay.
because those 4 people will not be hired.
Will not be hired.
That we're clear on.
And frankly, Mr. Mayor, I would really recommend, you have asked some terrific questions in some of these meetings. You've asked the right questions. I would challenge you to follow up with the personnel within the township to make sure that you are getting answers. When these plans are brought to the meeting, when we go out to bid on items, these plans should be in place and all the answers should be available prior to going out and spending, for example, tonight, $586,000 worth of the township's money, when we're not really 100% sure how we're going to handle certain aspects of the plan.
Well, that's why I asked the question, saying, is this going to work? We're spending this kind of money, or taxpayers getting what they want? Because that was one of the things that it was discussed early on. They will have a choice as to what cans they want, size-wise.
Interestingly enough, I'm sorry, I finished, I was rude.
That was one of the things, that's why I asked the question again. Now we're going to still do that, because if not, I'm not on board.
Interestingly enough, and it may well be because they know that I'm mayor and I'm on the township committee, I will tell you, for the most part, there is excitement from individuals and they want to know when they're getting the trash cans. Most of the people seem to be really educated about it, they know about it, and I don't know if excited is the right word to use, but they certainly are not opposed to it. In fact, many people, once we got through some size barriers, listen, there are some individuals that have some unique situations, especially those that have stone driveways and those kind of things. There are things that have to be, looked at and try and work with the residents. But for the most part, the comments that I've received are incredibly positive, where people are saying, I wish we were getting them now and not, but part of the delay is that, it's getting to kind of some of the things that you bring up this evening. But I am the one that has responsibility for personnel for the Township Committee. And Barbara and I have pretty much a monthly meeting on where we are budgetary, where we are with expenses, where we are with salaries. We monitor to ensure that we're not in any way extending hours or overtime and that kind of stuff. And if there is, then somebody's counseled to that point to make sure it's changed. Again, it's the history that having had personnel for the past, I guess, 5 years now, that I do feel confident that once this process is in place, that beyond the $60,000, beyond the workman's comp, we will come out of this in a very positive way with respect to salaries and overall expenditures.
Okay, I appreciate the time to address the council. And,
no problem.
And again, I would like to ask your indulgence to consider using the right equipment for the job as opposed to the automated side loaders. I think you'll do just as well financially and possibly even better in certain situations where you will need a rear load truck and not have it available to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Anyone else?
I hope you don't do away with 50. Follow up on some of John's comments. You can't out you're short-handed. And we can't get to the roadside knowings, we can't get to the recreation fields, and many number of things that just fall on the wayside with the township. And then I'm hearing you say, we're going to gain the people from the trash trucks, but yet we're going to lose 5 or 6 people to retire.
No, we've lost 5 or 6, we have 1 or 2 in the wind
It was
now.
just proposed out, there's another 4 or 5.
Well,
Then that puts us right back where we are.
well, there is no time. Let me be clear. We absolutely are not going to hire the 4 part-time people that are in place right now.
Yeah, I
Okay?
understand that.
And I wasn't in any way suggesting that 5 people were going to leave tomorrow. Okay?
I understand.
What I was suggesting is that there may be 1 or 2 that may take advantage of their retirement opportunity, which will still leave us on the positive side of 4 or 5 people. And we feel that the combination of personnel and insurance, and opportunities to maintain properties without having to, put some of these things out to bid and have someone else do it. The one thing we've taken a lot of pride in is a lot of the construction that's done in this township for the advantage of the residents is done by our own public works people.
I understand.
And so we're not looking to cut service. We're not looking to in any way curtail the responsibilities of what's going on at this point.
Again, I'm just looking at, if we're borderline now with the skeleton crew and we can't get to where we are, if you lose 3 or 4 guys in the next 3 or 4 years, or whatever it is, and you don't replace them, we're right back where we were.
Not really, we taking 7 people off the truck.
I mean, right? Yeah, but however, if we keep the system we have now, we'll need more people. Okay, so that's disadvantage as well.
That's fine. Another question I have.
And someday, right now, there is not a hiring freeze in Upper Township. There never has been. And I'm not going to tell you we're going to run out and hire people. At this time, it's not anticipated to hire people. But in 2, 3 years, they might be hiring people.
I'm looking in foresight again.
But if you hire,
to cover those bases.
I understand that.
Somebody retires with 30 years experience, and you hire a laborer off the street.
I'm in business, I understand.
Well, you're saving on salaries that way, but the point is what hoping the comparison that I was going to say, the comparison you were trying to make, the alternative is worse, because the alternative says we keep 3 men on a truck and we probably need more help. And so, at this point, it's to our advantage to go to a new program, a new process, utilize the people that we have to get some of these things that we're maybe falling behind a little bit.
Long term, one of the other questions I had, I heard that we were now going to pick up the trash at Osprey Point.
We do now.
These other trailer parks, what happens? They're going to be year-round residents.
I think legally,
You have to pick it up.
Yeah, I mean,
And hear me out. That includes Pine Hill, Shore Acres.
I don't know what we do with Pine Hill. Do we pick up Pine Hill?
Recycling there.
But if we're going to go pick up these other ones that get in from them, we're going to have to go pick them up too. What trucks are you going to use to go with Shore Acres or Pine Hill?
actually, Shore Acres, you probably use the automated side loader. I mean, they're hauling.
You're going to have you guys stop every 20 feet.
well, that's what they do in a regular community that's not like ours. If you went to Florida and you saw what they're using Waste Management right now, those properties are no more than 40 feet apart.
I'm asking someone if anything has been thought of.
The first time I saw an automated,
When did it works?
the first time I ever saw an automated side loader, it was on a cul-de-sac in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I bet you there was 15 stops on that cul-de-sac.
I'm not against the one side, because I'm not. I just think that we're going to have some situations coming up that we're not considering.
There's no question, there's no question, we're all going to go through growing pains. We're going to go through growing pains on our side, we're going to go through growing pains on the resident side, but you know what, the reality is we need to address the trucks, we need to address some safety initiatives, we need to address real important issues at this point. So, we're moving forward with it. It's taken longer than I had anticipated, honestly.
I think everybody feels that.
But, that's why we have an air of confidence that we didn't rush into something, that, the plans are starting to fall in place. And will it go smoothly the first month? I don't know, probably not,
6 months.
but we understand that.
It's going to take a while, it is.
Right. But I will say that the success of a lot of other towns
Absolutely.
it has got to be something to look upon to say it works other areas and it works, where there's very condensed and very heavy populated areas.
In some areas of our township and other areas, I don't think it's going to work.
Mays Landing just made the transition, what was it, about a year ago. I have a friend that lives in Mays Landing, loves it. It's the greatest thing they ever had.
Again, and there's going to be growing pains.
I agree.
My big concern right now is, again, the mobile home parks and over 55s, if we've got to go and pick their trash up.
There's provisions.
Is that being anticipated in your thoughts as far as time on
There's
runs?
There's provisions in our ordinance for multifamily unit projects like that they're collected at a centralized location, just like we collect our recyclings. now at a centralized location, that most likely if for some reason we can't feasibly get a side loader automated truck in there, that we collect that at a dumpster if required to.
Okay. That helps a little bit, you know, and I still, you know, I think the rule states that we have to go pick up trash and...
State statute, can't do much about it.
We really have to look at this, because if we have these other units go in, we can look at upwards of 800 units, we're going to pick it up.
But the reverse would be that they could develop the property and have homes there anyway.
Well, no, because you can tax them, and you get something for them.
Yeah, and they put
Trailers, you don't.
kids in school, huh?
Right.
Well, I know they do.
I mean, and like Paul said, we can utilize dumpsters. I mean, I have a camper. Years ago, I used to pick up trash. I don't want to pick up trash. My camper's delivered to the dumpster. I have a local vendor comes in with a front loader, and
You're talking, you know,
disappear.
you're talking campers on a seasonal basis, not year-round.
Yes, but I mean, trailer parks and year-round
My fear is the
facilities.
accumulation, and I talked to Paul and these trailer parks about it, and at one of the meetings, it was, we're estimating $80,000 a year taxes on a commercial rate on a mobile home park. That's not even covering your trash pickup. And then if you add 20 or 30 kids in there at $15,000 a year, this township's at a loss for major money. And it's a concern for me, not next year, but 5 or 10
You
years.
should also be extremely concerned that if we don't have a plan in place that would develop these types of properties, someone could take property and build a high-rise, and we would have little or nothing to say about it without a plan in place. And that's the
I'm
reality.
implemented right now, and I've run some numbers on it, and I'm going to continue to run them. The only one that's making out on these deals is the person that owns the park.
Is
So
what?
It's not beneficial to the whole township, and...
I don't make the rules. They're state statutes that we follow.
But with the credits we had that we owed, if we paid those credits off, does that continue to accumulate?
You can only buy back certain credits.
You can't pay.
We can't.
So that,
Yeah.
we're looking in millions of dollars, or we're looking in hundreds of thousands?
It was millions. It was millions to try, and we couldn't have bought.
Believe me, we looked at that at the very beginning. We tried to signal that town, we
And
sent
we were
letters.
limited, Hope, in how much we could buy. So we couldn't buy our 600
Current
units.
regulations don't even allow you to buy any.
Yeah.
At this point, they don't.
You can't buy zero.
Listen, my concern is when you run these numbers, we're looking at 2 new parks putting kids into the school. The potential $1 million to $1.5 million tax burden on the
Well,
rest of the people.
And as a code
And you
project,
told me, well,
as
we're
a
going to
code,
$80,000. $80,000 doesn't wash out $1.5 million.
as a code project, he could have constructed approximately, I think it's
20%.
20 acres there, 88 units an acre.
The co-housing allows for much more densely
Over 100
populated areas.
Well, I'm looking at potential 2 kids per school, $15,000.
But Hope, my understanding, when the planning board reviewed that, the actual numbers on operating mobile home parks was significantly below the numbers you're quoting. I would defer to the planning board's records when they did it, but that was why they came in, I believe, for the recommendation as part of the co-op plan, because of the low number of children that are out there and operating. Look at our mobile home parks. Are there children there?
That's the problem with over the 55,000 unit trailer.
No, but even in the ones that don't have
You can't
age
restrict it to
restrictions.
just that. You can put a mandate and percentage for that, but again, that's the problem. It's easy to say that, listen, we all would pound our chest and do that.
Change the zones on 2 areas, Rich. All right, it's only going to benefit in the long run the owner of that property.
Well, all I can tell you is,
They can put
if you were sitting on this side, when we were faced with a builder's remedy suit that could have potentially put almost 400 units in this township, and we fought hard to prevent that from happening.
And
we
those
put a plan
units
together.
do have children.
50 units of trailers and still putting kids in the school. I don't see the wash.
Well-
I don't see where it's at.
That's your opinion.
I think
We
that's what
don't,
we could have done.
based on a lot of things that the planning board looked at, that's not necessarily the case of what you're saying.
I know that a lot of this was put in place till the code was going to end. But unfortunately,
Well,
it's going to an
it didn't get signed because we thought we were going to get, at one point, we had no responsibility because if that original legislation had been passed, the existing mobile homes that were in the township would have been counted. It's not the case at this point.
Yeah, I know I've been trying to minimize it, and I
I would love to minimize it. Listen, I live in this township too, I pay taxes like everybody else.
I'm just looking at a major project into this township.
In my opinion, the legislation is illegal to begin with.
Well, it should
It's
be.
never voted on by the legislature, it was some judge.
Again, my concern is, when they come in, we're also going to have to add the trash pickup to those units, which is fine. I just want to make sure that that's included in our scheme as we go along here. Whether 2 trucks is enough, or do you need to buy 15 or 20 or single axle to get down to those roads?
Well, the good news is, that won't be in place when we start this program. It's probably 3 years out by permits and everything else. So that gives us time to really put a real efficient plan in place if that were to become a reality.
Right now, I'm not sure the plan is far enough along with what we're ordering, what we're spending to really validate the numbers and go forward until we see a little more as far as how many pickups we're going to do a day. What happens if we don't do those pickups? You know, there's so many unknowns on this. I don't think it's being,
I agree, but you also stood here about 6 months ago saying, how come it's taking so long to buy the trash cans?
Yeah.
And buy the trash trucks? Am I correct?
Question then.
Now we're moving forward with it, now you're saying the opposite.
We're still not there. And hearing what I'm hearing on the can issues and on, a couple of meetings ago, it was, the goal is to get everybody with 1 can. Well, if that doesn't happen, then what do we do? Is that being considered? And that's all I'm saying. I think there needs to be a little more foresight and a little deeper plan in place before we go into that expense.
No one has spent a dime yet.
That's like me trying to build a house without a set of blueprints and order lumber.
That's
It
true.
doesn't work that way.
Well,
This plan, I think, can be a lot further and a lot more detail at this point than what it is.
okay,
So, it's just, my feelings on it. Thank you.
okay. Anyone else? Well, I appreciate your comments, as usual, and we thank you for your input to the Township Committee meeting. At this time, unless there's anyone else at the last minute that would like to address the Township Committee, I will close the public portion and entertain a motion to go into closed session. Mr. Newman, would you read what we need to
I
do?
hereby move the resolution be incorporated in the minutes authorized by the Township Committee to enter into executive session. So the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Number 1, personnel. Number 2, contract negotiation, shared services agreement with Township, Upper Township Board of Education. Also include my motion, the estimated time and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. It is anticipated that matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon determination of the Township Committee the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. B, with respect to employment and personnel matters, such discussions will be made public if and when formal action is taken, when the individuals involved consent, they can be made public. C, with respect to contract negotiations, such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there is no longer a reason for confidentiality.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you all for coming this evening. Great seeing you. Have a great week.